What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Purple Raven, and today I'm going to get turned into a vampire for your enjoyment. In our continuing spirit of Halloween for our Spooktober series, I'm going to be playing Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. This game is actually based on the tabletop role-playing game from White Wolf. Have any of you played this before? Either the various video game variations or the tabletop RPG? I've never played this or the RPG before, so I'm interested to see how this goes. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We'll be returning to the Disney Dreamlight Valley playthrough series in November when we'll be finishing the game. So if you'd like to get caught up on that series, you can find it in the video description below, along with a few other of my playlist recommendations. In the meantime, we'll be doing a whole month of Halloween-themed gameplay with things like Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York, which we're playing tonight. But I've also played games like Phasmophobia, and we'll be playing another vampire-themed game, Vampire, for our Halloween Spooktober series all October long. As I've mentioned, I never really played this game, so I'm excited to try a new one. Let me know in the comments if you like this new content, and we'll be sure to do this every October. And don't forget to like this video too, as it really helps me out in knowing what kind of content to keep making for you all. If you're a return visitor, welcome back. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you know when our latest video drops. We release new content every week, so there's always something new to enjoy. Alright, let's dive into Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. So this is the closest that this game has to a character sheet. You're not really going to choose anything else. You can choose one of these clans to be part of. The Bruja, the Ventru, or the Toreador. I've been told that I should probably choose the Ventru, that it would be more my style of play. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that since that was the recommendation to me. So let's accept. This is this character, and we're going to have to name her. So Purple Raven it is. Not enough letters. Okay. Purple. Like Purple Raven. Okay. Accept. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked... Oh, Jesus, going really fast. We may need to adjust the options. Something about being designers of our own destinies. Let's adjust the settings there. That was way too fast. Let's go with standard. See if that helps. Okay. That belief shattered when the rich... Oh, still really too fast. This is... Okay. Sank her teeth deep into my neck. So I'm assuming this person is talking about becoming a vampire. Let's try to change those again. Maybe medium size and slow typing speed. Alright. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now. By the way, fate, you decide. Alright, so there's this pregnant pause. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see its glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. And I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me. Peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate. A message saying, you're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. More pregnant pause. You might have wondered how I've learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much, don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You're the only one I'd trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy, asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with it, unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. And right now, it's smiling in your favor. All right, so this is how it begins. Your phone rings and it's your boss. Again. The setting sun that filled your high-rise office an hour ago is gone. The city looks like an ocean of light from out here, spreading for miles to the north. You pick up. You are about to call it a day. Forget about the world of fintech and decompress at home. No dice. One of the investors wants to meet you, his voice, as always, the perfect mix of authority and sleaze. He'll come by your office in an hour. You look at the clock. An hour? He's got to be kidding. Yeah, I know, but stick around. He's a heavyweight. You'll want to make a good impression. Fine. You grit your teeth a little. The boss hangs up. 2 hours. Might as well pour another coffee into yourself and figure out how to best use this to your advantage. You suspect everyone knows that, no, you're actually not happy with your current position. That, in fact, you feel squished against the glass ceiling that comes with the territory. Sure, your idiot superior might have gotten the job only because he's the CEO's golfing buddy, but you're going to put an unholy amount of work into your advancement. Times were, you'd laugh off the idea of staying at the office till 9 p.m. You had a partner to go home to, the nightly Netflix and chill ritual to perform, complete with pizza or Chinese takeout. Ever since you moved up the ladder, though, your hours have only gotten longer. Food? Mostly at the company cafeteria. Sometimes takeout, always in a rush. You praise the heavens for your crazy metabolism and dread the day it finally decides to give up. Rest? At this point, the cleaning lady who takes care of your apartment probably spends more time in your bedroom than you do. You flash back to your boss quoting Shakespeare to impress his new, extremely attractive and uncomfortably young secretary. For some must watch while some must sleep, so runs the world away. Drinks? Mostly with colleagues, and they all pretty much hate you at this point. Another flashback, this time to the most profitable quarter in the company's history. Still, the board decided that layoffs were in order. Your boss didn't feel like letting people know in person, so he passed that privilege on to you. Gotta hand it to him. He always knew how to pick his battles. But maybe, just maybe, tonight is the night it's all going to change. You decide to play the good looks angle. Nothing too slutty. You leave your blouse slightly unbuttoned. Check if your ass looks as good as you remember in your pencil skirt. Mirror says yes. It's not something you're proud of, but you've become too jaded to care. Knowing your luck, the investor is going to be one of 2 types. A self-obsessed Musk wannabe in his 20s, or a fat old pervert drenched in cologne. You hear the elevator ding. Time to get this show on the road. You take one final look in the mirror and fix your hair as the footsteps echo across the empty hallway. The man who approaches your office is not what you expected. He's slick, to be sure, but he seems a bit more refined than your usual company man. Expensive suit, matching tie and shirt, confident in his stride, surprisingly good looking. Good evening. I hope this unforeseen visit isn't too much of an inconvenience. God, that voice. You're taken aback by how smooth and strong it is, and his eyes, steel blue, cold, intense. He's all business, professional, treats you in a manner that's appropriate to your stature. When he speaks, he actually looks you in the eye and not at your cleavage. He asks some questions about your work, tells you how he noticed your input after talking to the CEO, another coffee buddy, and comes charmingly close to calling your boss an incompetent doofus. All the while, you try to guess his accent, but can't quite place it. European, sure, but where from? I know I've kept you long enough, but would you indulge me and join me for a drink? Of course. For a minute there seemed like he wasn't that kind of guy. Well, what the hell? You go with it. He seems nice enough. Besides, it's not like you have other plans. The investor has a limo waiting downstairs, and the driver takes you to a high-end restaurant in Williamsburg. A seat is waiting for you in the deluxe lounge. It's just the two of you. You talk about this and that. Your companion seems to have a knack for history. So, tell me, what would you do if you had full control of the company? You almost choke on your wine. This is your chance. You say what's been on your mind for months, but hide it behind a veneer of professional corporal battle. Refocusing, listening to your instincts for once. Restructuring, kicking out your boss. Aggressively pursuing new markets, getting the hell away from all these horrible people. He likes the sound of that. He leans forward, his eyes flash with intensity. And something else. A strange emotion that wasn't there before. Will to justify. His words echo inside your head as you black out. You wake up, God only knows how much later. As you try to piece together what happened, you hear a familiar voice, the investor, or whoever the hell he is, talking to someone. You suddenly recall snippets, fragmented memories. His sapphire eyes intently locked with yours, his teeth suddenly longer and sharper. Something else. A feeling on your neck that takes you back to your last orgasm, a company trip to Florida, a sweaty room, the cutie from HR who doesn't work there anymore. And then darkness. Yes, I'm done here. Consider my debt paid. The investor pushes the other figure aside and walks away from the lounge, barely bothering to look at you. The door locks behind him. Some time passes before you find the strength to get up from the couch. You touch your lips. Blood. Did that asshole hit you? You try to stand up, but your head is pounding, and your stomach is like a heavy knot pulling you down. You didn't have that much to drink. You must have spiked your wine. This is bad. You frantically check your clothes. Pristine. Doesn't make any sense. All of a sudden, a feeling hits you unlike anything else you've ever felt before. You fall to the floor, writhing in an all-encompassing pain and hunger. The kind that makes your insides burn, that cannot be denied. You try to calm yourself down with a breathing exercise they taught you at some bullshit mindfulness course. That's when it hits you. You're not breathing. And holy shit, your heart should be jumping out of your chest with that realization, but it's not moving. Not even a beat. The door unlocks. You hear a startled voice. A young man in a waiter's outfit, his accent thick with an Eastern European harshness, leans over and asks if you are all right. For a brief moment, you wonder what the hell he's doing here. Everything is wrong. Then his smell reaches your nostrils. It's intoxicating. Everything feels right again. He holds out his arm to help you stand up. You grab it, firmly with both hands, and then you bite down. You sink your teeth right next to the old school pinup tattoo of Rita Hayworth on his forearm. It takes you a moment to process what you're doing. A part of you wants to break away, but a stronger voice implores you to keep drinking. One thing becomes clear: you are definitely enjoying this. He only struggles a little and quickly falls to his knees. You can see his eyes now, pale blue and confused. You only bring yourself to let him go once he collapses onto the floor. Your bite leaves a mess of his forearm. Poor Rita, all bloodied, missing half her face. Did you just drink this guy's blood? You spit out a piece of torn flesh. Why? Where? What was in that fucking wine? Barely able to focus your heart and your lungs, still motionless, you reach for your phone and dial 911. 911 operator, what's your emergency? All right, so now we actually make a decision here, friends. Do we want to tell her about the stopped heart, the fact that we can't breathe, or tell her that we killed somebody? I think the most natural thing is going to be to say that you can't breathe. I can't breathe. Ma'am, where are you right now? The door to the lounge swings open. The man who enters is not the one that brought you here, though there are similarities. He's tall, for one, broad-shouldered, handsome, dressed in an immaculate suit. But his skin is darker, and the look on his face tells you he is not here to negotiate a deal. He notices the smartphone in your hand. Pass me the phone if you want to live. The man's voice is persuasive, calm, but carrying clear threat. He's got the aura of a viciously efficient corporate shark. You find it hard to argue with him. Ma'am? Hello? I apologize for wasting your time. My new colleague got drunk and is now trying to impress everyone with her antics. Good night. He disconnects the call and places your phone in his pocket. For whatever reason, you can barely take your eyes off the stranger. As hypnotizing as his presence is, though, it's also highly discomforting. Good evening, miss. I am here to pick you up. So now we want to either ask him who he is, clarify about picking us up, or call an ambulance. Let's tell him to call an ambulance. Please, you need to call an ambulance. Someone else is taking care of that. The stranger approaches the waiter and examines his body. Critical condition, but he might live. Anyway, he then sets his sights on you. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you, and going by experience, they tend to fall into two categories. First, there are the smart ones who carefully obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones. The punks who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody secretly and without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, likely dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness, one that inspired me to come up with a 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times, and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, "I understand, sir," now. Every atom of your being screams for you to obey his authority. So we have the choice to say that we understand, we can be defiant, or we can continue questioning him. I'm going to play this compliantly, I think. So I'm going to say I understand. "I understand, sir." Stick to that tone and you'll do just fine. Moving on. Is there anyone you'd want to inform of your current situation? Tell them you're all right? He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason the sight sends a chill down your spine. There's something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? So we can say our boss. There's no one, or I'd rather not answer. So based on the kind of biography that we got earlier in the exposition, I'm going to say there's no one. No, I don't have anyone. The stranger squints at you. No family, no lover, no friends, nothing? A job. Your blank stare tells him the whole story. He immediately stops prying and gives you something even worse than a look of pity, a look of honest compassion. Well, that makes things simpler. But let me be crystal clear, just in case. From this point on, you are the subject to different laws than You are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you are still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. That practiced tone again. You put on your poker face and listen in silence. So unless you want your boss to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I'd suggest you cooperate. Don't tempt me. He smiled, revealing his fangs again. There's something absolutely sickening about it. Suddenly, you feel overwhelmed by a sense of exhaustion, and you pass out. When you regain your senses, you find yourself in the stranger's arms. The man is holding you as you would a spouse who's had a little too much to drink. You try to break free, but he holds you close and gives you a cautioning look. Only when you cease your struggling does he let you go. Only now do you notice the change in scenery. You find yourself in a fancy lobby right next to the elevator. The place is virtually empty, save for a single concierge and some cleaning staff. Your companion gestures at the concierge as you pass, and he picks up the phone. The elevator arrives, the door opens, and the man motions towards the cabin. After you. Okay, so we either threaten to scream, tell him we're not going anywhere, or ask where we're going. I'm a curious person, so where are we going? To a safe place. That's all you need to know. Trust me, you don't want to make this difficult. Just get in. So we can call for help, demand to be let go, or step inside. Again, I'm going to play this compliantly, so we're going to step inside. Going against your instincts, you enter the cabin. Smooth jazz is playing over the speakers as the elevator starts its descent. You are dazed, panicky, but somehow locked in place. On the one hand, you find the stranger's presence oddly soothing. On the other, you can feel your body tensing up with stress. You can't help but think back to the young waiter, the doe-eyed look on his face, the confused look he gave you just before. No, it's better not to think about it. Plus, you have other things to worry about, like the fact that you're being kidnapped. The cabin door opens to the same garage you arrived at with the investors some hours ago. The man shows you to a black Cadillac Escalade. I know what you're thinking. Getting into a car with some strange man. Boy, sure seems like a dumb idea. Maybe I can make a run for it, and might be able to lose him. So let me be perfectly clear. Your best bet is to get in, relax, and enjoy the ride. Let's ask about the waiter. Do you think The waiter upstairs. Is he going to be all right? Yes. You look him in the eyes and can immediately tell he's lying. No more questions. Get in the car, please. We're going to go ahead and get in the car. It seems like the worst idea ever, but the man's made it very clear that you have no choice in the matter. Let's ask if he's going to hurt us. Are you going to hurt me? No, not tonight at the very least, unless you make me. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Listen, you really need to quit stalling. We're on a bit of a schedule here. The sun comes up in about 2 hours, and I don't intend to be here when it does. Schedule? What schedule? The kind that keeps you alive to see another night. He opens the car door and gestures towards it. You see no point in delaying the inevitable, so you get in. The door locks behind you. The Cadillac is almost entirely dark. The side windows seem light-proof. The man gets into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. Did I die? Depends on your definition of death. Listen, I realize you have many questions. Tomorrow you will get some answers. But tonight you need to do what I say. And right now, I need some quiet, please. You feel too confused to protest. You stay silent for the rest of the ride, even as more questions bubble up to the surface. One of them being, did you actually kill someone tonight? Staring out the window, you find it hard to focus and quickly lose track of where you're headed. You can only tell that you haven't left Manhattan. Another underground parking, almost featureless, empty. The car stops and the man opens the door for you. We're here. The stranger walks you to a nearby door. He opens it and motions at you to get in. Go on in, make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry, again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow and you'll get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. So we have, you're leaving me here, that's not happening, or where are you going? Let's do the leaving me here. That's it? You're just gonna leave me here? That's it. For now, at least. Look, this room is your best chance of seeing another night. I realize you've been put in a problematic situation, and it's not entirely your fault. Cooperate, and you might still make it. You will learn more tomorrow, but for the time being, get in and get cozy. He gestures inside the room. So we're going to step into the room. You step inside. The stranger nods. Good night. He locks the door behind you. It looks very sturdy. You open the fridge. There's a single plastic bag there, filled with red liquid. No label. Tomato soup? You feel sick to your stomach. Best to leave it for now. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. At least it's not too filthy. You think back to how this evening began. This investor. Is he friends with the dark-skinned stranger who picked you up from the restaurant? What happens now? Unable to relax, you spend an hour or so playing out various scenarios in your head. Eventually, you decide to give in and let exhaustion take over. Whatever tomorrow brings, you'd rather face it well rested. Plus, there's no way in hell your boss isn't going to notice your absence tomorrow. That, and maybe some of the restaurant staff, feel a pang of conscience. Someone will notify the police. Someone will find you. Right? You flash back to the waiter's tattoo, the bloody Rita Hayworth winking at you over a pale mess of a wound. You did this. You bit him, drank his blood, and it tasted good. What if you can never go home again? You are so tired, your entire body tenses up one last time, and before you know it, you drift away into oblivion. You wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels like. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on, the AC is still rattling, the refrigerator is still humming. You take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 p.m. You've slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone, and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you are certain about one thing. You are hungry. It's not your stomach grumbling, though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You open the fridge. The bag is still there. You take a closer look at it. If it is soup, then its color and texture are off. You pull the cork out, take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit! There's no mistaking it. It's bagged blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it nauseating. But now it's no, not almost, it is enticing. Do we put the bag back or do we drink the blood? We're going to drink the blood. It feels wrong, but right now, there's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes like shit. It's coppery, thick, and clings to your tongue and the inside of your mouth like a film of dirt. You swallow hard regardless. The taste is foul, but somehow you kind of want more of it. As you take a second sip, sucking the blood out of the bag, you feel something pull on your insides. You double over. You're going to barf. You instinctively cover your mouth, looking for a place to vomit. Before you find it, a dark red wave washes over your hand and fingers. It hits the floor, splattering in huge, thick drops. You keep heaving for a moment longer. Nothing is coming out. Not blood, not bile, not even spit. But still, something in your body wants to push it out. Push it all out. Every last drop. As you recover, trying to wipe droplets of regurgitated blood from your dress, you hear the lock click and see the door opens. Standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again, that predatory look, like a hawk on a hunt, but somehow more relaxed tonight. So like a tamed hawk, maybe. Good evening. How was... He notices the spatter, your red hand, the sick look on your face. He barely contains a smirk. Oh. Was the catering unable to satisfy your exquisite taste? Apologies. So we can offer him a drink, ask if it was really blood, or say that was foul. We're going to ask if it was really blood. Was that really type RHO positive? Not that easy to get. Guess you'll have to discover your drink of choice by your own. Come on, we've got places to be. I should have some water and a towel in the back of the car so you can clean yourself up. The car is humming in the empty parking lot, just outside the door of the cramped room you have spent the day in. The man motions to it politely, but with a stern look on his face. So we can rush him, we can get in the car, or we can hijack the car. Again, we're going to play this compliant, so we're going to get in the car. It's not like I have a choice, right? Correct. But your cooperation is appreciated nonetheless. You take the back seat again. The doors lock. The stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep trying to catch glimpses of familiar streets or landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproofed, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic humming and the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked all right. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There's nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're hungry? No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. We already had this bit of dialogue. Alright. You become restless. This is essentially a kidnapping. Whatever this guy says about its purpose, it doesn't change the fact you're being held against your will, and you're not used to following orders when you can't delegate them to somebody else. You feel a need to get a semblance of control over the situation, so you decide to prove yourself useful. So we can either know people in high places, have a worthwhile skill set, or get him a lot of money. So I'm going to say that I have a worthwhile skill set. Listen, I'm an investment advisor and I have a lot of experience in fintech. Whatever your organization is, it might find use for me. I don't even have any idea what fintech is, and honestly, I don't care to find out. A short pause. I'll be frank. Currently, you're in no position to offer anybody anything. The sooner you accept that, the better. So we can curse him out, call him a nobody, or ridicule his lack of ambition. I don't really like any of these choices because none of them follow our pattern of being compliant. So I'm going to go with the least aggressive and ridicule his lack of ambition. Big words from somebody's dedicated errand boy. I wonder if you've ever achieved anything. He pushed the right buttons. He gives you an absolutely furious stare through the rearview mirror. For a second, you spot a crack in his professional demeanor. You don't know anything about me. You have no idea where I'm coming from or where I'm headed. For a few seconds, he quietly fumes. Your attitude won't help you make any friends, and in your current position, you definitely need some. Consider that, preferably in silence. That dull hunger strikes again. The powerlessness hurts. You are used to people listening to you, or pretending to care about your demands at least. The driver doesn't play that game, and it annoys you to no end. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York, that much is certain. Queens, maybe. After me, no sudden movements, please. You approach a nice-looking building that houses a 2-story gallery called the Art Hole. 2 large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering, serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed, for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite, unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you as if wishing to appraise your worth. This reminds you of your company meetings. You, the only woman in the room, silently judged not on her merits but her standing on the list, passed in clandestine email threads between your male coworkers. Until HR found out, that is. Not the most pleasant experience, but there's no denying it taught you resilience. When others would cower, you now straighten up. When others would turn their gaze, you meet the eyes of the gallery's guests with confidence. A woman approaches. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice that takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, a crowd of strangers. You, being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Let's go with good evening, miss. That's the most polite. Good evening, miss. You are addressing the Prince of New York City, Helene Panhard, child of Michaela. Thank you, my sheriff, but I am capable of introducing myself. She is somewhat plain-looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is intently focused on her. She has influence over these people, that much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife was abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience. But I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. So we have the choice to be confused, remain silent, or ask about embrace. I'm going to go with I don't understand. Wait, I'm confused. What are you saying? I think it shall all become clear momentarily. You are pushed headfirst into a world you have not realized the existence of. But before you can partake in it, there needs to be a trial. You are about to be judged by the Court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this fledgling and what happened on your way here. Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society make-believe? Kadir says, a trusted informant, who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time, tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this fledgling remained in their place. A reservation made in the private lounge of the patrician suggests this one sire had plenty of resources to spend. However, they are apparently also well connected. I lost track of them. Despite some reservations, she offered little resistance last night and cooperated on our way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force her compliance. Opening the door to the safe house tonight, I was greeted by a most disturbing sight of her drenched and regurgitated blood. Apparently, the bagged supply we kept in the fridge was not to her liking. The remark elicits a contemptuous chuckle from one of the gathered guests as they note the remains of blood on your skirt. It was not an elegant sight, but that hardly matters, I suppose. Moving on. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged her to join me, which she did without struggle. A pleasant departure from my usual routine, I must say. During our drive here, she showed me her fangs, metaphorically speaking, posturing as if we were equals, insulting me when it didn't work. I refrained from causing her physical harm, but I expect her ego might still be a bit bruised. He looks at you and flashes a nasty smile. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behavior and will take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there is the matter of your sire, the person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? We're going to just say a handsome businessman, an entrepreneur, acquaintance of my boss, I think, good-looking, pale blue eyes, and some gray in his hair. Charming, abusive, cold son of a bitch. You feel tired and angry. This whole situation, spending the day in some underground parking lot, having to bear the looks of a room full of strangers, it's all much too much to take in. There's no reason you should take it all in stride, but you do, because if there's one thing your professional career has taught you, it's that all because of that asshole, whoever he was. He never even gave you a name or a card, nothing. There was an error somewhere in all that narration. Okay. Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not, or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. Ask if we can go, ask what happens now. Let's help by saying that he talked to somebody. That man. He talked to somebody at the restaurant before he left. I can't remember what he said, but he wasn't alone. Maybe that's a lead you can follow. Did he now? That is interesting. I do hope the proprietor won't stay mad at us for losing one of his staff. It's almost like he knows the waiter's fate is still bothering you and takes pleasure in pointing it out. Thank you for that observation. I will investigate it later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elders' leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir what all that talk of traditions and councils was when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie. Sheriff. I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir, we all know that the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to straighten your hands tonight after all. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you are left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite the pickle. Let's ask, what do you mean? What do you mean? I still don't understand what my crime is here. Poor thing, this really isn't your fault, but if you want to get out of here in one piece, you need to understand one crucial fact that seems to have eluded your grasp. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait, what? Oh yes, I am well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires, you're looking at them. They're us. You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. That's not the right thickness, and not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing has not returned, your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, what the, on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you will be cut down, as sure as the day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out, under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and Kadir's complaints about your behavior won't influence her judgment. This society values docility. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I am not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. Let's ask how she'll convince the prince. You're saying the prince might have other plans for me? What will you offer to convince her? You'll see it yourself, hopefully. Know this, there are certain traditions and a history of our society in this city that I can tap into. My word might not carry that much weight, but it is not easily ignored either. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage again. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla, gathered here tonight, I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. Their behavior since being embraced has been disagreeable, and that does not bode well for them becoming a valuable member of our society. You are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders, and their traditions more than ever before. As our trusted sheriff pointed out, there can be only one course of action. Although I acknowledge some of my counsel's divergent opinions on this, she takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a somewhat plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin has somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate, and I declare that while their embrace might be the sire's responsibility, in their absence it is their progeny that shall be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir, you hear a scraping sound and see that the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is a beautiful, detailed blade, which you expect must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. And he's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. So we're going to ask for mercy. Spare me. Please, don't make me beg. God damn it. Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer? Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Ms. Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The bored elites suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of our laws. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance, it could become an asset to our domain. And I understand you are volunteering to take this unruly child under your protection? Yes, I am willing to give them a chance and prove to the entire domain that they can adhere to our expectations. I will take nothing less than their full cooperation, naturally. Whispers can be heard again, an incredulous voice or two, a hushed, just behead the creature, some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favor, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Until thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Ms. Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. So we have the choice to remain silent, ask for a chance to prove myself, or say this wasn't part of the deal. We're going to ask for a chance to prove ourselves. I am worth keeping alive, Prince. Give me a chance to prove myself. That remains to be seen. I do take notice of your tenacity. See that it doesn't become a burden. I shall grant what you ask. Let it be known, Sophie Langley of the clan of the Rose will become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Ms. Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Ms. Langley? Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? So we're going to give our name. Purple Raven, Prince. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Purple Raven. Now, this evening proved to be even more eventful than I anticipated, but with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting can conclude. Thank you all for appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties? Of course, Prince. He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And if need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Purple Raven, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. And I think that is where we're going to call it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of our Spooktober spooky game playthrough. Again, we will return to Disney Dreamlight Valley in November. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications, and we'll see you next week. Until then, geek out, game on.